Hello and welcome. This is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and at this moment in time what you're looking at is version 3 of the simulator. Now, I don't usually cover updates and things like this. I leave that to other people that are way better than this than I am. But I have to say, Sim Update 4, the current beta version I'm trying, is really impressive, and maybe it is the point where MSFS 2024 becomes a viable option. So I wanted to show you how all this works on my computer. Before we start, let me show you my current specs of my PC. So as you can see, my PC is, well, it's about 3 years old. It's not the latest and greatest. It's not too bad either. It runs pretty much all the games I own pretty well, but it really struggles with MSFS 2024. So let's have a look at the current version that most people have on their PC, and I'll show you then the difference between that and the new beta version of SU4. So here we are in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and I've loaded in what I would consider in terms of performance, that is the worst case scenario for my current PC. So this is the A350 by Inibuild, so INI builds, still don't know which is the correct way to say it. And we're at London Heathrow Airport. This is the Asobo version of it, and for whatever reason this aircraft really tanks my FPS, and also this airport seems very demanding. So in order to capture the performance, I'm actually using the inbuilt NVIDIA graph, but I'm also using the NVIDIA capture software. So the problem is it doesn't actually capture the graph which I can see here. So I'm just going to put it on the screen now. So what we're looking at here is 35 frames per second, about 60% GPU performance, so it's using 60% of the GPU and about 35% of the CPU. So actually not too bad, I would say. Obviously the FPS could be a bit higher, but it's okay. But just be aware this is without any weather. I wanted it to be as neutral as possible. No traffic, no weather, no nothing. So then when we compare it to the other version, we don't, because if you're loading clouds, then maybe they could be a bit different, or there might be a bit more traffic, and that would skew the result. So this is as bare bones as possible. Also, I'm not using any other software in terms of frame generation or anything like that. So this is just the sim as it is right here, right now, and we are getting about 35 FPS. If I jump into the cockpit, the frame rate drops to around about 27 FPS. Sometimes it goes down. Well, right now it's showing me 23. It's going back up. So I would say 25 FPS here in the cockpit. The GPU is now, well, it's still running at around about 60%, slightly more, 63, but that's okay. Let's call it 60. And the CPU is still actually quite chilled here at right now around 30%. So we can already see the bottleneck here is going to be the GPU, so my graphics card, not the CPU, which I think is quite normal for 4K displays. I'm just going to do one more thing to get a bit more of an idea where we actually move the aircraft and fly an approach, and then we'll switch over to the latest version of SU4. Okay, so here we are in an Phoenix Airbus A321, and we are currently flying into JFK, and I chose this airport because it's quite consuming in terms of performance, like London Heathrow. Once again, kept everything neutral, no weather, no traffic. So right here we are enjoying around about 40 frames per second, so actually quite nice. The GPU is sitting at around 75%, and the CPU at around about 35%. The problem here is usually the landing. So as we get closer to the airport, I usually experience a drop in performance. So let's see if and when that happens. Okay, so here we are getting towards short final. The FPS have dropped, but actually I'm surprised it hasn't dropped as much as I would have expected. Quite often when I come into an airport like this after a long flight, I lose at least 10 FPS, Right now we are at 35 FPS, so we've lost 5. The GPU is running at about 80% right now. Obviously it's taking a bit of a toll on the GPU, and the CPU is running at around about 35%. So let's see how the landing goes. This is with the same settings as London Heathrow, so I hope it's gonna stay in the 30s. That would be very nice. Otherwise the autopilot sometimes can get a bit iffy, but it looks okay. I mean, it's not smooth. You can see we have a lot of spikes. It's a bit jittery, and okay, so now the FPS has dropped significantly. We are now looking at 25 FPS. The GPU is running at 85. The CPU is running at around 35-ish. So this is the drop I was talking about. Here we are. Now we are at in the low 20s. So you can probably see, let me just help this aircraft. You can probably see that, yeah, the performance is not great. And you know, just to be clear, this is at very low settings really. So we're talking everything on medium or low, so nothing really to shout about. So as we come to a standstill here now, I'm looking at 23 FPS. GPU is now sitting at 99, so it's pretty much at the limit, and the CPU is actually chilling. It's at around 30%. So as I said earlier, the GPU is the problem. It's now running at 99%, giving us 23 frames per second. So now let's do the whole thing again, but this time with the new beta version of Sim Update 4. We are back at London Heathrow, back with the A350. And what I'm looking at right now, same settings, same everything, is 47, 48 frames per second. The GPU is now running at 75, 77%. The CPU at around 45%. So if we compare this, we had 35 frames per second before, we now have 47. The GPU is working harder. It's now at 75 instead of 60, and the CPU is also working slightly harder in terms of performance, so 45 instead of 35. Let's jump into the cockpit. So here, fairly similar story. I'm looking currently at 48 frames per second. Before we only had 25, so here we see a huge increase in performance. The GPU is working harder than before. It's now running at 70% instead of 60, and the CPU is running at around 30%, so pretty much the same as before. So what we can see here is that the FPS have gone up quite a lot, but the GPU is working a lot harder, whilst the CPU is working pretty much the same as it did in the previous version. Right, we are back at JFK, coming into land once again, and now the FPS are a completely different story. Right now we're looking at 53 to 55 FPS. Let's call it 53. The GPU is working much harder now. It's working at around 97, 99%. So let's call it 98. The CPU is still fine at around 33%. The sim is much smoother. Obviously we have much higher FPS, but I can see the GPU is doing a lot of the work right now. So let's see how the landing goes. Okay, we are back on short finals, and this is where we slowly saw the FPS dropping away in the previous version. If you remember, we had 35 FPS, and then it went all the way down to 25 on touchdown and about 23 once we were on the runway. Right now I'm still seeing 51 FPS, nice and stable. The whole sim feels actually nice and smooth, and it doesn't look like this is going to drop at all. It's going to sit there at 50 FPS all the way down to the ground. Let's see what happens after landing. Okay, touchdown at around about 48 FPS. The GPU is still running at 96, 97. CPU at around 40%. So the GPU is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, whilst the CPU is actually quite relaxed. But the FPS, even right now, we are having about 46, 47 FPS. So we've dropped a tiny bit, but we're literally talking 3 frames per second. And generally, this just felt so much better than in the previous version. It was just smooth. The FPS never dropped too much. It was all nice and stable, and the whole feel of the thing was just much better than in the previous version. So, could this be the big breakthrough in terms of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024? I think it certainly has the potential. Of course, this is just a very, crude test. I have never tested this with AI traffic, complex weather. I'm literally just trying, out to see how the 2 sim versions compare, and I try to use a blank canvas, if you like. But obviously we don't fly like this. I usually fly with AI traffic, realistic weather, and this is then when we really have to wait and see what that's going to look like. In any case, right now, once again, the FPS have gone up. I'm at 55 FPS. The GPU is now running at 95%, CPU at around 40%. So I think for me personally, a new GPU would make perfect sense, because that's where the bottleneck is right now. But what I can say is, at least here on my system, I have not changed any settings. Everything is exactly the same. The jump from SU3 to SU4 is, it's very significant. We are talking not just more FPS, it just feels much smoother. The whole thing, it looks like in terms of performance, is finally coming together. So that's my initial verdict right now. Of course, this is a beta version. They're still working on some further improvements. So let's see what the final version will look like. But as of now, I have to say I'm very impressed and super happy about this, because maybe this will finally give me the chance to jump from MSFS 2020 to MSFS 2024. So we'll see where this goes, but I thought I'll give an update on this because I do think this is significant, and yeah, we'll keep an eye on this, I guess. Alright, so thanks for watching, thanks for your time, thank you for all your support, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, all the best. Bye bye.